So problems after problems after problems. We hear about all kinds of things all the time. But what are 5 ways that we can be more self-reliant, more self-sufficient in taking care of our families and not having to depend on everyone else? We're going to talk about 5 ways, 5 keys, 5 things that you need to have, do, or buy to make you the person who could take care of your family, be more self-reliant, and understanding a step towards homesteading, prepping, or literally just being a common sense American. One thing about being a prepper or a homesteader, all it is saying, I just want to have common sense again. Sometimes we just can't hit the easy button. So today's video is going to be a good one. We're going to talk about 5 ways that you can be more self-reliant, more self-sufficient, and understanding the value of taking care of your family. It's going to be a good one, guys. It starts right now. Good morning. It is a gorgeous day. You see the sun is rising over the farm. We've fed all the animals. It's actually chilly this morning, but just like the sun, it does give us hope. It's a new day. We have just been through some crazy times in our election cycle in midterms. No matter if you're a Republican or Democrat, I don't think anybody really came out on the winning side. I think the Republicans thought it was going to be huge, and it wasn't. And then you hear about across the world, you hear China is getting ready for war, which is kind of crazy. They're preparing for war. We see North Korea shooting rockets still. There's a lot to be worried about. There's a lot of issues that go along with what's going on. We hear in America, of course, with the recession looms and shortages. So today we're going to talk about things that you need to buy or things that you need to do and learn so you can prepare and take care of your family a little bit easier. So what is important? You have to decide what's important. Well, taking care of our families is important. Being a common sense American is important. So sometimes we can't just always just go to the supermarket and buy what we want. Sometimes we can't just go buy fast food. So let's talk about 5 ways that you need to make sure you are taking care of your family by being more self-reliant. So let's jump right into it. Number 1 is learning how to pressure can, learning to can food. It doesn't matter if you're growing the food or if you're buying it in bulk. If you can turn around and preserve food without refrigeration, it is key. We do this with not only vegetables, we do this with meat. Not only do we do this with vegetables and meat, we do it with our fats and our oils. We do it with our milks, our butters, and our lard. So the whole point of learning how to can, to pressure can, to water bath, to preserve food such as curing, all those things are good. We need to build a common knowledge of preservation of foods. Having foods bought right now is huge. Having a stockpile of food is huge. But learning how to preserve those foods is even better. So I challenge you, buy a canner. We like the All-American canner. There's Presto. There's all kinds of brands. We like the All-American canner. We like the ball jars. We've used Superb lids. We've used ball lids. We've used 4 jars lids. We got links to all those below. But ultimately, you need to learn how to can. Now, going along with pressure canning and understanding preservation of foods, you need to pick up a book on knowledge of canning. So there's a Ball Blue book. They make several editions of these Ball canning books. I'm not saying don't buy the newest one, but pretty much they don't change. But you need to have some kind of common knowledge of what you're canning and how you're canning those foods. So not everything has to be pressure canned. Some things can be hot water bath. Some things can be raw packed. Some things can be cold packed. Some things can be hot packed. There's all kind of terminology. But by learning canning, learning how to use these books of canning and knowledge building of canning, it's going to help you learn to preserve your foods for longer. Do I challenge you to grow a garden? Yes. Do I challenge you to buy food in bulk? Yes. Both of those things now can be used to turn around and start canning your food to make it last longer and preserve the food without having to worry about your energy, without having to worry about your refrigeration. Energy prices are crazy. We see blackouts happening no matter if you want to put your head in the sand or not. We see the energy issues. It is costing you more, especially in the winter, to run all the things that you run, to run your house, to run your heat. So by having these foods not dependent on the fridge or energy sources, you've got canned foods ready to go. We've heard people say it's the fast food of homesteaders. It is. We can take canned food, put it all together, and now we've got a meal in less than 15-20 minutes. So make sure you're learning how to can food, not only can vegetables, can meats, can your fats and oils. It is very much a key to self-reliance and self-sustainability, learning how to can. When it comes to prepping and homesteading, knowledge is power. So number 2 would be learning from books. Don't just learn from YouTube. Don't just learn from the internet, because one day those things may not be there. One day you may not can see the Max, or you may not can see your favorite YouTuber on your phone. There may be a time where you don't have internet. So learn to pick up books. For instance, if you're thinking about bushcraft, learn to pick up bushcraft books. If you're learning how to tie knots, get a knot book. If you're learning how to can, like we talked about earlier, if you're learning how to forage, if you're learning how to grow a garden, there's books on everything. But knowledge is power, building wisdom is key. Learning from books, having a good reference library is key. Misty and I both, we both have the same interest when it comes to homesteading and prepping and taking care of our family. However, I've gotten a lot more books on regenerative ag and understanding how Joel Salatin and Greg Judy and all these guys with permaculture are designing their farms to be better for us to be self-reliant. However, Misty has went more on the foraging, on the preserving foods such as the canning, whereas I went more on maybe bushcraft and knife skills and understanding firearms better. So there's different ways that you as a couple can work together, and you're building a common knowledge and wisdom to be more self-reliant and self-sufficient. So number 2 would be getting books and getting the right books to build a resource center and a reference guide for you and your family when you can't have your phone, when you don't have YouTube, when you don't have your favorite people to watch. Understanding that paper books are not bad. So number 2 is wisdom and building it with books. Second part of number 2, I do believe that we're in a stressful world, so our main book that we go to for any guidance, of course, is our Bible. We believe in having devotions and understanding to start your day, to see this beautiful sun, to see this beautiful morning. I want to start my day in a word of prayer and devotion, and understanding that that is the most important book for us is the Bible. So I would challenge you to get your mind right first before you start tackling all the world's problems and self-reliance and self-sustainable skills. Living a homestead life, living a prepping life can be very it can be hard sometimes. It can be stressful. For instance, we had an issue with one of our water lines just yesterday, and that causes more issues. That's not just, oh, well, we'll turn the water off and utilize it. No, I have animals to water, so then we have to carry water places. I have a pig that's just not doing real well. I don't know what's wrong. So homesteading and prepping does add a new stress level. It really does. But it is also rewarding. But we do say, part of the reference guide and reference library, a Bible would be key, and let all the other books fall under it. Building wisdom and hope and understanding where you need to be when you talk about self-reliance. Starting out spiritually is even better. Number 3, we have heard of shortages with medicine and making sure that we can take care of our family in a health sense in the last few weeks and months. We've talked about Jace Medical and how important it is to have some antibiotics on hand. I would still tell you to buy some antibiotics to put on hand. Jace has got a link below. I think it's well worth your time and money spent to have some antibiotics. However, when you can't get antibiotics, when you can't get simple pain relief, when you can't get simple things to make your head feel better, or a swelling or a cut on your arm and you need to figure out how to heal it, you need to learn herbs and medicinal benefits of plants. You need to learn tinctures. You need to learn what does what. This is one thing we have missed out so much and we have lost. I think of all the historical lessons that we did not learn. Maybe from what people really did with herbal medicine. How we have lost that because we've depended so much on pharmaceuticals. So what we have done as a family, and especially Misty, is she has dived right in. So for instance, when we talk about planting our gardens or we talk about homesteading, a big part of our planning, especially in what we call Permaculture Zone 1 or in our kitchen garden, it's all herbal medicine. It's all herbs that we're growing. It's all things that we're going to forage and bring back to our home to then utilize it for medicines. So we have right now, we have foraged and we have found elderberry. Our elderberry now, we have got it planted, we've done cuttings with, and we've turned around and planted them at our home, and now we've got major elderberry growing right there in our yard and in our kitchen gardens. What is elderberry? It's good for immune boosting. We make a syrup out of it. We have echinacea growing right there, which is a coneflower. What is it good for? It's good for respiratory, it's good for immune boosting, it's good for our healing of our bodies naturally. So then we can make a tincture out of it. What about wild lettuce? Things that we cut down and we just think no value in because it looks just like a random hedge. Wild lettuce is a simple pain reliever. We don't realize how good some of these herbs that we're missing and these foraging plants that we're missing because we didn't learn about them. Have you thought about goldenrod? Goldenrod, you can use every part of the goldenrod plant. So there's so many values to learning herbal medicine and foraging, building tinctures with liquor, understanding that you can make your own medicines that can heal our bodies naturally. What it does also when we learn to heal our bodies naturally, so then our bodies learn to fight whatever we've got going on naturally. We're not dependent on pharmaceuticals. Is pharmaceuticals good? Yes, I'm not against pharmaceuticals. But if we can do something more in a holistic and natural way, it makes it where our bodies become more resilient. We become better prepared and we build a better immunity to certain things. So if it's mullein that we're growing, if it's dandelions that we're harvesting, if it's elderberries in the woods, goldenrods in the woods, wild lettuce, if it's simple blackberry, if it's learning how to use garlic and onion in medicinal facets, if it's learning how to use honey, propolis, beeswax, all these things that naturally are in our world, if we would learn to use them in a way they were meant to, we could heal our bodies. It would be more holistic and a better medicine and it would make our bodies probably stronger. So I challenge you to look at a few books. Now, this person wrote both of these books. Misty loves them. We're not affiliated with her, but you need to check out this book right here by Nicole Apillion. I think that's how you say her name. But she's got two books, one on wild foraging, one on herbs. You need to put this in your reference library like we talked about earlier. Foraging and understanding herbal medicine, huge. Number 4 in building self-reliance and self-skills. If you're a man, do you know how to hunt and gather your food? Can you go process an animal if you had to? Can you break down a fish? Can you skin a fish? Can you debone this animal that's sitting in front of you where we won't have any waste on this animal? Can you simply process or butcher a chicken? Could you go out in hunting season, kill a deer, turn around and process that deer? It goes back to being a man. I know that sounds sexist and chauvinistic, but as a man, we're supposed to take care of our families. As I said earlier, Misty is phenomenal when it comes to building our herbal medicine. I've learned a lot, but she is awesome at that. Her background is being a nurse. She understands how volatile our healthcare system is, so she sees the value in holistic medicine. Was me as a man, as I want to bring in food for my family. I want to take care of my family. If I can turn around and provide that food, then I'm doing something right. So why do you think I'm coming out here at daylight and feeding animals? It's because I want to take care of those animals, but I know those animals will take care of us. If I can't take that animal and process it though, and provide food, then what am I doing with animals? I don't need pets. Same way with hunting or fishing. If we can't learn to catch food, if we can't learn to hunt food, if we can't learn to kill food, and then turn around and process that food, are we really doing what we're supposed to be doing? Put your big boy pants on. Learn how to use a knife. Learn how to use a bow and arrow. Learn how to use a fishing pole. Learn how to use a gun. Learn the value of that. Now, this is not just for men. I say this as a man because I want to raise my boys that way. But actually, my girls could do the same thing. My oldest daughter, Harley, she can process a chicken probably faster than most men can process a chicken. Now, I brag about that because she knows that she can take care of her family. She is learning a life skill to grow up with. Now, does that mean she's going to be a chicken butchering woman the rest of her life? No, but she has that skill. So if my kids can learn anything from me, it's to learn how to provide for themselves. My boys, I want them to put their big boy pants on and understand that they have to raise animals for food. They have to look at animals and say, yes, they are beautiful and they're awesome and they are God's creation, but that rabbit, that squirrel, that deer, that pig, whatever it is, that hog, it's meant to provide for our family. Now, I know a lot of you who are like these vegetarians, the ones who hate eating meat, and you like this animal activist. I'm sorry. We are meant to eat meat, and we're going to eat meat here at the Max. So I want to raise our family in being self-reliant and self-sustainable, and one practice is learning how to hunt, learning how to fish, learning how to break down meat. So I challenge you to have books on that. Pick up a deboning knife, pick up a bone saw, pick up a nice firearm for self-defense, but also for hunting. Pick up a nice bow and arrow. If you don't like a bow and arrow, get a crossbow. My wife has learned how to shoot a crossbow, and she actually likes it better than if she's pulling back a true bow. So there's different ways to do that, but you have to get to the point where, just like herbal medicine and foraging, we have to learn to hunt and provide for our families. So number 4, put your big boy pants on and understand how to process animals, take care of your family, and do the hard jobs. It may be harvesting an animal. Can you harvest an animal and take care of your family? Number 5 is very easy, and I've said this in tons of videos. Number 5, being self-reliant, being self-sustainable, building a homestead, learning how to prep. It comes down to planning and budgeting. If you owe a lot of money and you have a lot of debt and you're struggling financially, you've got to get out of that. So meaning you've got to pick up side hustles. Misty makes soap on the side. She makes cinnamon rolls on the side. Especially like this season when you get into this Thanksgiving and Christmas season, people love buying her cinnamon rolls. They're made without a lot of chemicals, so people enjoy that. They're getting a quality, yummy snack. Our soap is made very holistically. It's a lye soap. So what I'm saying is we've picked up side hustles, and Misty can do that without going outside. Now what I mean by that is all the time I hear people say, well, we live in the city, we can't farm. Or we live in the city, we can't raise this. Or we're tight, we don't have the money to spend doing this. Well, learn to do side hustles. I could turn around and sell meat to someone else. I can provide for food for someone else. I'm building a second supplemental income. But that's part of the plan, that's part of the budgeting. If I'm struggling financially, if I'm living paycheck to paycheck, if the inflation is hurting me, then I've got to figure out how to solve that. I can't rely on someone else to solve that. I can't just sit back and say, well, it'll get better. It may not get better. So we have to learn to pick up those side hustles. If it's Misty doing soap and cinnamon rolls, or if it's me selling animals off farm, or doing something else like a side hustle, or going to help someone do something in their yard, it may be. But all those things are good because then it helps you start getting out of debt. It starts helping you build a plan, and it starts helping you budget. We're in a time where if you're not budgeting and you're living on credit cards, you will never live up to the potential you could be. So you have to live up to the potential that you have set for yourself, meaning you've got to get out of debt, you've got to have a plan, you've got to have a budget, and you cannot be a slave to the lender. You have to learn to plan and budget. You have to have a goal. So this time of year, we're cinnamon rolls and soaping it up because we know there's a goal and we know those funds can be utilized for other things that we're needing. In the spring, it may be growing more crops to then turn around and sell. It's a side hustle. There's always things we can do for building money. There's always things we can do to take on a second job. One thing about the internet, one good thing about the internet, and one good thing about the technology that we live around is it's pretty easy to come up with a job to make money, even on the computer sitting at home. Again, blogging, vlogging, learning how to do YouTube, learning how to do social media, learning how to sell on social media. There's different ways. Learn how to plan, budget, and get out of debt. It's never too late to start prepping. It's never too late to be self-reliant. The best time is to start now. Now, the reason I end it with this is because if I would have started with this, I know a lot of people would then just turn me off because they think, oh, same old, same old. But we have to realize that the only way that we can do these other things, the only way we can buy a canner and start learning how to can, the only way we can build a reference library, the only way that we can buy animals, the only way we can buy the land, the only way we can have the free time to go forage is we have to start doing planning and budgeting. So it gives us more time to do the things that we want to do. Sometimes we sacrifice for the greater good. So I'm challenging you to sacrifice, to build a plan, get together with your spouse, and understand the value of having common sense again. As I said when we started off, prepping, homesteading, and understanding being self-reliance and self-sufficiency, it's just common sense. Things that we're talking about right now, this is just life for us. And to be honest with you, people 60 and 70 years ago would have laughed at us to say, you're not doing those things still? You're not hunting your own animals? You're not growing your own food? You're not preserving your own food? They would laugh at us. They would absolutely laugh. If our grandparents and our great-grandparents could come back and see who we've become, it would probably scare them. So there is hope for America. There is hope for us as a civilization, but it takes us learning how to be more self-reliant and self-sustainable, where we're not dependent on the government just to give it to us. Hope this video helps someone, and I really want to encourage you. If you don't do anything else, start reading books on all this. If your interest is building a side hustle, get some books on side hustles. If your interest is in leadership, Dave Ramsey's got a great book on entree leadership. If you need to get out of debt, he has some books on getting out of debt. If it's learning foraging, check out that Nicole Apillion book that we were talking about. It's been awesome. There's so many things that we can learn if all we've got to do is just do it. Think about canning. Think about building a reference library. Think about planning and budgeting. Think about foraging and understanding the value of it. Think about learning how to hunt, learning how to use a knife, fishing pole, and gun, and understanding we can be more self-reliant, have these skills, be the best person we can be for our family. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about this video below. If you're new to the Max, if you're still here watching this video, then that means you did like it. So give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, because our goal is to keep growing our channel and letting people see the value of living this kind of lifestyle. God bless. Happy homesteading, y'all.